Hello, Ibu Christine and friends. I am Adewindia Nargina, and I'm going to present my second journal entitled Heritage Language Speakers, Theoretical and Empirical Challenges on Sociolinguistic Attitudes and Prestige. This study was conducted by Jonathan R. Key, Anita Orr, and Joseph Salmons. The first is about the background of the study and the considerations behind the selection of this topic by the researchers. There are three main ideas that were proposed. The first one is related to the heritage language issues, which it becomes the interesting topic to discuss as we can observe from what happens through the globalization related to the language maintenance and the language shifts. So the heritage language can compete with other languages. And then related to the how this topic has grabbed a lot of attentions from the researchers. The researchers in this study assume that the topic which was discussed related to the language shifts and maintenance is still restricted by the limited scope. So it is really important to encourage all the researchers to look at this topic from the wider nuance and scope. And then the next one is the role of external factors in heritage language variation and change. Based on the consideration number 2, the researchers tried to develop our understanding by considering the other external factors that probably have influenced the heritage language maintenance, the heritage language variation and change, and heritage language shift. So by those three main base ideas, the researchers proposed two main research questions. The first one is, what effect the prestige of related minority languages or language varieties has in the heritage language context, and how heritage language speakers view and evaluate their own linguistic practices in relation to other language or languages. There are 5 considerations proposed by the researchers related to this topic. The first one is what the reasons were for leaving the hard culture, and then in what environments and under what circumstances heritage speakers find themselves in their new home. And the third is what motivations there are for language learning and or language maintenance, and then what languages or language varieties are employed in the different contexts, such as family, social networks, communities of practice, and in the larger speech community. And the last one is what generation of heritage speaker characterizes the object of the study. Let's come to the critical issues brought out in this journal. The first one is coming from Gills and Friends in 1977 and 1979. So Gills and Friends believe that group members who have positive values on their heritage language may adopt strategies of psycholinguistic distinctiveness that is presented in an example, accentuating ethnic speech markers. And Lipkin in 2010 tried to look at this context from another perspective by stating that low ethno-linguistic vitality does not necessarily entail such outcomes. It means that it is not only how the members of the group values their heritage language that release the ethno-linguistic fatality or that reflects the ethno-linguistic fatality. But there are probably another variables behind those phenomenon. And then another critical issue is related to the impact of language attitude and prestige. Lins in 2014 assumed that language attitudes and prestige have positively impacted the heritage language maintenance. However, this research, especially the researchers, encourage us to broaden our thinking scale, our nuance of the study, specifically by proposing what has been found by Haynes in 2013. Through his article, through his study, it was found that the learners, which are the American immigrants who have the positive attitudes, did not tend to adopt the same perspective related to other non-English varieties. It is assumed that it might be because of the lack number of communal resources. So it means that the number or the number of the communal resources might affect the language maintenance and the language change or language shift. Logically, it is possible because it might, when the number of the communal resources is limited, it might restrict our scope of communications with our communal. So it will reflect the frequency of the use of the heritage language. And then another aspect to discuss in this article is that as what has become the base of this article is we have to look at a broaden area or broaden nuance. That's why this article lead us to think beyond the language attitudes and prestige. There are several notions that is offered by the researchers to be considered, including the language ideology. The standard of language ideology is believed to be one of potential factors in maintenance the heritage language. It is supported by Lippy Green in 2012 and Milroy in 2013. The heritage language can be a strong symbol of community cohesion in the host country. It is also actualized by Vandenberg, forthcoming cited in Albers and Moiskin in 2013. It is reported that Akan language has become the community language of Ghanaian migrants in the Netherlands, even among those community members who wouldn't normally speak Agan in Ghana. So it means that although there are a number of the community who do not speak that language commonly and normally or regularly, this language is able to be the community language for Ghanaian in Netherlands. It might be because of the number of the communal resources as presented in the previous slide. And then another issue beyond language attitude and prestige is the the parental attitude or family language policy and the formal education system. Related to the family language policy, it is believed that language attitudes, which were harbored by the heritage speakers' parents, also have effects on the heritage language maintenance. It is proposed by Polinsky and Kagan in 2007. So it is tried to be proved by O and O's in 2005. The language by studying the Korean speakers, the language spoken by parents at home, as well as their attitude towards home language and culture, correlated with the children's later abilities in the home language. And then parental attitudes were found to be the strongest predictor of vocabulary knowledge, but only for the simultaneous bilingual. In contrast, for the sequential bilinguals, the study found that it is the age of immigration becomes the deciding factors, become the determining factors that's linked to vocabulary knowledge. It is a study conducted by Gariby and Boyers in 2017. Another notion is related to the conditions of formal educational systems and the broad community structures. It is argued by Skutnap Kangas in 2000 and Katz in terms of the verticalization by Brown. There are several recommendations or consideration that were encouraged by the that were proposed by the researchers, and the researchers try to encourage us to look deeper and broader to these two dimensions. The first one is cross-linguistic dimensions and the language ideology dimension. It is because the number of studies that focus on these two dimensions is still lack. Nagy in 2015 believed that language attitudes, whether it is positive or negative attitude, it showed only a weak effect on variation, that pattern more like the dominant language, English, contra most individual cases reported elsewhere. So Nagy tried to enrich our knowledge of related to the language attitude and prestige by trying to persuade us to by presenting another perspective that is how the language attitude actually contribute a weak effect on the language variation. And there are several studies were also presented in this article to enrich the reference related to this topic, specifically language attitude and prestige. These are empirical research. The first one conducted by Moro, stated in this article. It was found that the positive attitude towards Ambon Malay could promote more frequent use of the heritage language. So actually it is in line with the previous, with the very common belief of the language attitudes and prestige. Nagy in 2015, comparison of ethno-linguistic vitality, language status, whether it is including the popular and academic media, and ethnic orientation, those notions become the factors of linguistic selections of heritage language users. Cara in this article, cited in this article, studied about Cypriot Greek in Cyprus. It is found that this Cypriot Greek in Cyprus is denigrated among its users in London compared to modern Greek. But this it was found that the Cypriot Greek is dominantly used in intimate domain. And Johansson 2015 found that at the found uh, related to this topic, it was found that by considering two levels, the individual levels and community levels, on the individual level, it is found that a positive attitude played a little effect on language variation and change. And in the community level, it is vertical ties play more prominence than horizontal ties. Well, actually, I already conducted a study related to language maintenance in Lombok. It is my S1 S1 thesis. It's about Mandak language. So this is the what is it, the picture of the findings of my study, how they use the language in different domain. It is related to our topic in this article. They use different frequency of their heritage language, which is a Mandar language, in different domain, at home domain, and then neighborhood domain, and then in community members and in formal settings. So the finding is various. The language use is different as they do the conversation, as the context where they have the conversation. So let's come to the conclusion. Language attitude and prestige do not strictly and solely impact heritage language shift, change, and maintenance. They can be studied by correlating them with other dimensions to enrich the theoretical and empirical studies on heritage language shifts and maintenance. Ibu and friends, that's all my presentation related to second journal review. Thank you for your nice attention and see you in the class.